Hello, second grade Smarties, and welcome to video 1 of lesson 5 in iReady Math. So for the past few weeks, we've been talking about different strategies that we could use to help us add and subtract. Last week, we talked about even numbers and odd numbers and how when we are adding two parts, we can decide if we can split those parts into equal numbers. This week, we're going to be talking about adding more than two parts. And we're going to be using something called an array. Everyone say array. Array. Mr. Mason even said array. So let's go ahead and get started over here on our page with the hats. It says add using arrays. Review adding three one-digit numbers. Rob's team has shelves for their hats. How many hats are there in all? All right, it says, does each shelf have the same number of hats? So on each shelf, so on the top shelf, we have four. Oh, okay. Four. On the middle shelf, we have four. And on the bottom shelf, we have four. So do they all have the same number on each shelf? Yes. Looking at the shelves, how many are in each shelf? Four. How many shelves were there? How many times did I write the number 4? I wrote 4 3 times. So we would say 4 plus 4 plus 4. So there are 3 shelves. Look at the lines at the right. Each line shows one shelf. Use numbers to write how many hats are in each shelf. Well, Miss Mason already got ahead of herself, didn't she? So as you are working on this with me, let's go ahead and put how many were in the top shelf. There were 4 hats on the top shelf. How many were on the middle shelf? 4 and 4 on the bottom. Now, this is where we are going to start talking about arrays. Arrays is something that we start to use to introduce something called multiplication. That means repeating over and over the same number of things in a group. So we had 3 rows of hats. Each row had 4 hats. So I can add 4 hats plus 4 more hats plus 4 more. We would also call this 3 times 4, but we're not in 3rd grade yet. But this is introducing multiplication. So we would add our first 2 parts, 4 plus 4, that's a doubles fact, it makes 8. And then we can't forget our third friend, and so 8 plus 4 would make 12. So 3 groups of 4 gives us the whole of 12. Use your answer to problem D. Write an equation to show the total number of hats. So we would say 4 plus 4 plus 4. We have 3 parts that made the whole of 12. We added the first 2 together and we couldn't forget that third part. So remember when we are adding more than one part that we don't leave any out. So the hats on the shelves on the previous page show an array. Everyone say array. An array has rows and columns. Here's the same array made out of dots instead of hats. So a row is going horizontal. Everyone say horizontal. Okay, so a row goes this way and a column goes down. Okay, so if we were looking at our hats, in each column, well, we looked at shelves, so we had to look at rows of hats. But if we looked at columns, we would say there were 3 hats in each column. See, I have 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns, 4 columns. How many were in each column? 1, 2, 3. So if I wanted to make an array fact using columns, I would say 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. So I had 4 groups of 3 if I'm using my columns. If I'm using my rows, I'm going horizontal. That means I'm going side to side. So I had 1 group of 4, 2 groups of 4, and 3 groups of 4. So we would say 4 plus 4 plus 4. Now, we saw the same array with the hats. An array is repeated addition. It's when we have groups of the same part. So we had groups of 4. We had 3 groups of 4. If we were looking at columns, I had 4 columns of 3. Now we know that 4 plus 4 plus 4 equals 12. Let's see if we get the same answer when we add 3 4 times. 3 plus 3 equals, that's a doubles fact. What does 3 plus 3 make? 6. And I can also do 3 plus 3 again, right? And we know that's going to be 6. And now we have another doubles fact. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 is the same as 6 plus 6. 6 plus 6 makes what? 12. So an array shows us how we can solve an addition, a repeated addition problem by drawing out a picture. Now, we could have had four groups, 4 columns of 3, or 3 rows of 4. All right, so this is just a fancy way of saying that we can draw pictures to show repeated addition. All right, let's look at number 1. It says, Kimmy makes an array using 10 stamps. Her array has 2 rows. Now remember, rows go side to side, not up and down. So we know that her array is going to have 2 rows. How many stamps are in each column? Ooh, explain how you know. So I'm already putting a picture in my head. If she has 10 stamps, that means each row is going to have the same number as the top row and the bottom row. So I'm going to split 10 into 2 equal groups. So I wonder if there's a doubles fact that I can make 10. What can I add that's the same part that makes 10? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 5 plus 5. So I had 2 rows of 5. I have 5 in each row. It has to be the same number. So I'm going to put a box around my top row of 5 and a box around my bottom row. So that would be 5 plus 5. I had 2 groups of 5. And together those made 10. This is an example of an array. I can draw it out and add my 2 parts. Now it wants us to see how many stamps are in each column. Remember, rows go side to side, columns go up and down. So I am going to put a different color to show my columns. And I'm going to change the color. Let's do yellow. Okay, so I'm going to circle each column. So remember, I have to have the same number in each column. So I have 1 column of 2, 2 columns of 2, 3, 4, 5. So so I made groups of 2, right? I had 2 groups of 5 in my rows. In my columns, how many groups of 2 did I have? Let's count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is the same number. It makes the same hole as my rows, right? So if I had to add 2 5 times, what hole is it still going to make? It's going to be the same as our rows. So 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 makes a whole of 10. Okay, it says how many stamps are in each column? we would say there are 2 stamps in each column. Now, how we found that was because one, we could use our illustration at the top to help us remember how to use that strategy of counting those columns. But remember, if I have rows that I can split into groups, they have to be the same number. With columns going up and down, I have to have the same number in each column. All right, second grade Smarties, again, what is this called? It's called an array. Say array. And that is a strategy to show repeated addition of the same number of groups. All right, second grade Smarties, I know that math is getting more and more challenging, but good learners do hard things. Keep that growth mindset, and I will see you tomorrow.